Did you know it might be easier to grow houseplants than you thought? With me today is Celeste White, UF-IFAS Extension Agent, to explain how easy it is to care for houseplants. Hello, Celeste. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Melinda. I'm happy to be here.
So is it easy to grow houseplants? These are beautiful.
It is easy if you have the right conditions. And some of the conditions, inside our homes are sometimes very low light. And so not all houseplants are adapted to that kind of low light. Now we might have a bright window or an east-facing or west-facing window that provide enough light, but light is probably going to be the most limiting factor. And putting a plant in a really dark corner, very few of our houseplants will tolerate that. So it's really matching the plant to the area in the home that you have.
I see. So is it easy to grow houseplants?
It can be if you pick the right plant. And I brought with me today some my tried and true houseplants that do well no matter what. And what I have here on the table are two different types of pothos. And pothos is, and you can see how healthy they look, they are a plant that really do well in lower light levels. Not in a dark corner, but mine are on a table in my living room, where they get morning light when the sun comes in. Sometimes it might be in another kitchen window or some type of area that gets some light at some point in the day. You can also grow them under artificial light too, but I kind of prefer the natural light. So pothos are two of my favorite that do well. This one that's called lemon lime, it takes a little more light than the regular pothos, but the color pop in your house is just fantastic. And the other one that I really like to grow inside is the Silver Queen aglaonemia, which I have down here. And that is another really tough plant that can tolerate a lot of conditions, lower light conditions.
Well, very good. So what kind of care do the plants need if you're keeping them in your house?
So the watering is probably the hardest thing people have trouble figuring out is water and how much to water them. And so sometimes you can tell by the weight of the pot, how heavy is it. Sometimes you can tell by sticking your finger in the pot, but the plants like to dry down a little bit. So you don't want to keep them constantly wet because they're in a lower light, so they're not using as much water or have as much water needs. So watering is probably the number one thing to care for them. The other one is they do need fertilizer sometimes, and you wouldn't fertilize them as much as you would a plant outside, but you would fertilize them maybe 2 or 3 times a year with a liquid houseplant type fertilizer.
I see. Are there any pests or diseases that we might need to look for?
It's hard to believe, but they do get pests inside. They might get mealybugs, they might get scale insect pests, and a lot of these pests are hidden down in the nooks and crannies of the plant or on the undersides of the leaves. So you would just inspect your plant occasionally. Another thing they do is they get dusty, just like our house gets dusty. And so sometimes you can just dust them with a feather duster or something, a Swiffer. Sometimes you have to come in and wipe down the leaves.
Thank you, Celeste, for being with us today.
It was my pleasure.
So now you know how easy it is to care for your houseplants at home.